Hey everybody, this is Gary Young from Royalty Exchange, and thank you for joining us for this emergency briefing. We prepared this presentation because there are a lot of benefits that songwriters, artists, and producers are eligible for under the new government bailout bill known as the CARES Act. But it's frankly a bit overwhelming, and it's tough to tell how you can benefit from it. So I'm going to try to distill this information down so that you know what's possible and what you can do next. Today, we're going to cover the three ways that we see that you can get help from these government programs. And so if you're out there and struggling because your summer shows have all been canceled, or if your other gigs and writing projects have dried up, I hope this helps you. In the next few minutes, we're going to break down those different benefits that you might be eligible to collect. And please, if you have any questions while I'm speaking, please send them in. We'll do our best to answer them for you after this, and we'll post those answers on a resource page for you to review. Right here at the beginning, I want to say that although the coronavirus bailout bill is now law, there are a number of guidelines that still aren't fully fleshed out. And I have to say this is not legal or financial advice. But we thought it was important to start the conversation with you today so that you can take action sooner rather than later and to ensure that you can get the help that you need. So there are three different ways you can get help from the CARES Act. The first way you'll benefit is from the individual cash rebates. Now, if you've been paying attention to the news, you've seen that the federal government is going to pay every US taxpayer $1,200. If you're married and filing taxes jointly, you and your partner will get $2,400. And you'll get an additional $500 for every child that you claim on your taxes. Now, that's true if you make less than $75,000 a year. You'll get the full $1,200. Now, if you make between $75,000 and $99,000, you will get slightly less than the full $1,200. And unfortunately, if you make more than $99,000 a year, then you won't get this cash payment. Now, so you have an idea of timing, those checks should start going out in about 3 weeks, and they'll be prioritized for people that have completed their 2019 tax return. Now, the good news is that you don't have to do anything to get that money aside from file your taxes. It's coming your way from the federal government. Now, on the logistics side, they're going to send this money to the same bank account where you received your last tax refund. Now, if you didn't sign up for direct deposit, they're going to mail you a physical check. Okay. So now, since you don't have to do anything, there isn't that much more to discuss. So you can just expect that financial assistance to come shortly. Now, the second big way that you can get help during this crisis is through the Pandemic Unemployment Assistance provision of the CARES Act. Now, this provision it's an unprecedented expansion of unemployment benefits to all freelancers and self-employed people. Now, you may ask, who is a freelancer or self-employed person? For example, if you're a songwriter that gets paid from ASCAP and Sony ATV, you're a freelancer. If you're an artist that releases your music on TuneCore and you do shows during the year, you're also a freelancer. In fact, if you're an artist signed to a major label, you're probably also a freelancer. In short, if you make your money from a 1099 rather than a W-2, you're a freelancer. And before the CARES Act, typically, you wouldn't be able to collect unemployment if you found yourself out of work as a freelancer. but now you can. And I'm going to explain the process by which you can start getting unemployment benefits as a freelancer, but you're going to have to bear with me for a moment because the process you're going to have to follow to collect the benefits is it's a bit complicated. So the unemployment insurance for freelancers is going to be managed by each state, but paid by the federal government. Basically, the federal government is using each state's pipes and system for paying unemployment, but putting their own money through those pipes. And if you've been negatively impacted by the coronavirus, if you've had shows canceled, if your income has gone down because of it, you're going to be eligible for these benefits. And now the process for claiming that you've been negatively affected by the pandemic isn't completely set in stone. But what we do know is it's going to involve a self-certification. You'll have to tell them that your income and livelihood have been harmed by the crisis. Now, we're expecting more guidance from the Department of Labor on exactly how you do that shortly. And we'll be posting those updates on our resource page, which we'll give you a link to at the end of this presentation. But the way you get started today is first, you'll go to your state's unemployment website. And, we'll share the link at the end of this presentation that is going to take you to a site where you can choose your state and then go directly to their unemployment site so that you could easily find where you need to go and start this process. And so you'll apply through your state. And the thing is, right, as part of this, since each state is handling the administrative process, some states are ready for your application and some states aren't. And you'll be able to see if your state's ready on their website. And the other thing I would suggest is, keep an eye on your state's social media accounts, their Twitter account, Facebook account, because we've seen that they're starting to update those as they build the systems for freelancers to file for unemployment insurance. Okay. And, if your state's ready, they're going to have instructions for the documentation you need to apply for unemployment. And so so far, New York, California, and Tennessee are ready to take applications from freelancers, which is great news. Georgia is currently not as of this morning, but they're working on it. So basically, after you've applied, what happens next? How much will your payments be? Your state is going to calculate your unemployment weekly payments. And the way the CARES Act defines it is it will be the greater of the amount you'd be entitled to receive based on your income using the state's standard formula for determining unemployment benefit amounts, or 50% of the state's weekly average benefit amount. So you're going to get the higher number of those two. Okay. And the other thing that's important, it's, if you've been negatively affected by the pandemic, this is what's going to happen. And each state, well, most states actually have calculators on their unemployment site that will show you how much you can get. So you're going to enter your earnings for each quarter, and then they're going to calculate it and spit out a number that you're going to get each week. Okay. Now, those payments for unemployed freelancers will last for a maximum of 39 weeks, which is a pretty long time, and it's a big benefit, right? But it's not just that. On top of whatever your state's calculated payment is, you can also receive an additional $600 a week to your benefits, right? through the federal pandemic unemployment compensation. Okay. And those benefits are going to last through this extra $600 a week is going to last through July 31st. Okay. And so your total unemployment benefits each week are going to be the state's payment amount plus an additional $600 a week. So let's do an example to hopefully make this a little clearer. So let's say a worker was making $1,100 a week in New York. She making that much a week, she'd be eligible for the maximum state unemployment benefit of $504 a week. Okay. And then under the new expansion, right, she will get an additional $600 of federal pandemic unemployment compensation for a total of $1,104 per week, which essentially replaces her original paycheck. Right now, of course, this example is just for New York, and it's going to vary state by state, and it's going to depend on your income before the crisis. Okay. The $600 per week in federal pandemic assistance is fixed, but that first part of it, the state calculation, depends on your income before all of this happened. Okay, so then what else do you need to do? So once you've completed your initial claim for unemployment insurance with your state, you'll be required to file a claim every week or two, depending on the state, in order to continue receiving your benefit checks. So this is an ongoing process that with your state each week or every other week to keep getting these benefits. So, like I was saying earlier, a lot of this information isn't complete yet, and it's a fast-moving situation. So the one thing I want to impress upon you is please be sure to check with your state before you complete the unemployment process. Right? The point of this briefing is to show you what's possible and to give you a framework for thinking about what help you can get right now. And, the key takeaways is like, if your state is ready to take unemployment applications from self-employed people, you should start as soon as possible, right? This week, 6.6 million people in America filed for unemployment. Last week, 3.3 million people filed for unemployment. So a lot of the state's systems are being overwhelmed by the volume of people that need help. And so I've heard people experiencing slowdowns and some difficulties hearing back. So you want to start the process and get in their system as soon as you can, right? Assuming they're ready to take applications from self-employed people. If your state's not ready, then you should check back every day to their unemployment site to see when they are ready. Because frankly, if your state says they're not ready, it's probably a bad idea to apply now, because your application could get stuck in a bureaucratic maze that delays your benefits. I've heard some things where, you can't have multiple applications going on at the same time. And if you apply when they're not ready, you're in their system and then it delays things. So basically, if they're ready, start as soon as possible. If they're not ready, start as soon as they are, right? No matter which state you're in, if they're ready or not, your best bet is to start gathering up your 1099s and your proof of income. And ideally, you're going to want to go back 18 to 24 months, because one of the things about this unemployment in general, and this specifically, is you're going to have to show proof of income in order to be able to collect these benefits, right? And so gathering up those tax forms, 1099s, proof of income is going to put you in a position to apply as soon as you and your state are ready for your application. And so and I'm going to be referring back to this link a couple times, but we basically gathered together all of the information that we've been able to find and posted links to it at royaltyexchange.com/COVID, right? And so that's going to be the central repository of all the information that we have. And you'll find a link to that search for your state's unemployment site there, among a bunch of other resources, right? So now, if you're a self-employed songwriter, producer, or artist, right, then filing for unemployment to get these benefits might be the best option for you to get help right now. There's other things too, though. So the third way you can benefit from the CARES Act is if you're a small business owner. And there's two additional provisions in the CARES Act that you could take advantage of. They're called the Economic Injury Disaster Loan Program and the Paycheck Protection Program. Now, the way those programs work is as follows. The Economic Injury Disaster Loans, EIDLS, are given by the Small Business Administration, the SBA, and they've been around for a while, right? But usually it was for folks, small businesses that were hit by natural disasters, right? And so it was geographically limited. The CARES Act expanded access to these loans to businesses in every state and territory of the US. Now, the way these loans work, and we have links at that royaltyexchange.com/COVID for more information on these, but you can basically get a loan for up to $2 million. It's a 30-year loan at a 3.75% interest rate. And the lending process is based on a self-certification. So you claim that you've been affected by the coronavirus and your credit score. For certain amounts, up to certain amounts, there's no personal guarantees or collateral required. And from what I have heard, the process to apply for these loans is pretty easy. I've heard some people say it takes about 30 minutes. So this could be a really good option for small business owners, right, that have been affected by this. And you can apply for this loan directly through the Small Business Administration. So you can go to www.sba.gov/disaster. Okay. So this loan is coming directly from the SBA. The second small business relief that's available is what's called the Paycheck Protection Program, PPP. And it was created by the CARES Act. And under the PPP, you can apply for a small business loan through local lenders. That means banks mostly, right? And what happens is the Small Business Administration backs these loans. They guarantee the loans to those banks so that banks will be more likely to give them out and lend, right? The most you can get from one of these loans is the lower of $10 million or 2.5 times your average monthly payroll cost, right? So the idea behind this program is to inject shorter term loans and into the system and allow small business owners to keep people employed and keep paying payroll, right? The maximum interest rate on these loans is 1%. And your payments are deferred for 6 months, and there is no personal guarantee or collateral that is required under most circumstances. And these loans also apply to self-employed people, potentially even if they don't have employees, right? So that's interesting, right? And it could be a really good option. The final piece of this is that the loan may be forgiven And that loan forgiveness may not be counted as income for tax purposes to you if it's spent in certain ways, generally during the first 8 weeks on operating expenses. Okay. There's a lot of additional details, and we wanted to focus this presentation on the unemployment benefits for freelancers. So we didn't go into a ton of detail on those two loan programs, but there's a lot of additional details, and you're going to need to know those to figure out if it makes sense for you to apply for them. And so for links and resources on the emergency loans and the Paycheck Protection Program, all that info is going to be at royaltyexchange.com/COVID. That's our central hub. Okay. So I think in summary, right, if you're struggling with lost income because of the coronavirus, right, number one, you're going to get a direct payment of $1,200 from the government. Number two, as a freelancer, you can now apply for unemployment benefits through your state, right? And number three, you may be able to get a loan from the Small Business Administration or backed by the Small Business Administration that has very attractive terms, right? And so, we put together this briefing to help you try to navigate these turbulent times. And I hope it was useful. And if it was, we have one favor to ask you. We started a petition to ask other companies in the music industry to do more to help creatives like you during this crisis. Our requests are simple. Number one, pay creators faster and pay creators more. And we're eating our own cooking, right? We're paying our customers faster, and we reduced our fees by 30% to put more money in creators' pockets right now, right? And we're asking other companies in the music industry to do the same thing because it's the right thing to do. And we all have to come together to help one another, right? And so I ask that you help support this movement by taking 30 seconds to sign the petition. It doesn't cost you anything, and I think it could do a great deal of good, right, for our community. So we ask that you sign the petition and then share it with your friends and family. There's a link to that petition at royaltyexchange.com/COVID. Either way, I hope this was useful. Thank you for listening, and please stay safe out there. And if you entered in questions during this briefing, we're going to take a look at those questions, find you answers, and reach out directly to you with answers. And then we're going to post those frequently asked questions on this link. Okay. Thank you all.